So what's going on guys, Kate is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best BARD PVE build in Lost Ark. So in this guide I will show you what abilities and awakening skill you want to get. Then I will explain what are the best engravings and cards to use for endgame content. And then lastly I will show you the best gameplay and even which stats you need to allocate for PVE. So you would be able to get the best results and highest damage and healing possible and much more. So no matter how low or high level or gear score your character is, you can easily use this build and follow the step-by-step guide. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So BARD is purely a support class for groups and is a highly requested role for endgame content. While her huge AoE clearing skills are up to par with other classes, she lacks high single target damage. If you want to play a support class, you need to understand the abilities of your teammates and you have to work with other players to bring out their best damage. Generally, the bards use their skills to provide various buffs and effects to the party while building their meter. And then when it's filled up, you can spend these bars to play one of your songs called Serenade of Courage for a large attack power buff or Serenade of Salvation to heal the party. So then lastly, at the endgame, we will be using the Desperate Salvation engraving, which will increase your healing to a certain percentage of our character's overall HP and much more. So if you are looking for the best leveling, raiding, chaos dungeon or any other PvE content build, then this is the one for you. Okay, so now let's move over to the build itself, and these are the skills you want to have. So then for the first ability we have the Sound Shock, and we use this time just 7 levels to unlock the Maintained Explosion and Sacred Shock. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Conviction. Then for the second ability we have the Wind of Music, and we use 10 levels to select the Quick Preparation, Melody Increase and Wind of Protection. And then for your rune you want to get the Wealth. Then for the next one we have the Prelude of Storm ability, and we use just 7 levels to unlock the Quick Preparation and Melody Increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wealth. Then for the fourth ability we have the Stigma, and we use 7 more levels to select the Sustain Enhancement and Brilliant Stigma. And then for your rune you want to get the Focus. Then for the next one we have the Soundholic ability, and we use 10 levels to unlock the Sound Concentration, Sustain Enhancement and Focus Fire. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Overwhelm. So then for one of the last abilities we have the Heavenly Tune, and we use 10 more levels to select the Quick Preparation, Tough Tune and Intense Tune. And then for your rune you want to get the Focus. Then for the 7th ability we have the Sonic Vibration, and this time we use just 7 levels to unlock the Tenacity and Brilliant Wave. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Judgment. And then for the last and final ability we have the Guardian Tune, and we use our last 7 levels to select the Mind Enhancement and Endless Protection. And then for your rune you want to get the Focus. Then as well after level 50 for your Awakening skill you want to get the Symphonia. But if you haven't reached level 50 yet, then here's a specific guide on which abilities you should upgrade first while leveling with the Bard. And then on top of all this, focus on equipping as high item level gear as you can. And then at the end game you should have 350 specialization and 1250 swiftness. But again, if you haven't reached this point yet, then try to have around 80% stats into swiftness and 20% stats into specialization. Okay, so then the way I would recommend to upgrade this build is at level 50, you will get around 250 points. So this is how your build should look like. But then by doing more and more endgame content you will get more points. And at the absolute endgame, this is how your build should look like with all the 384 skill points. So at the start you use the 244 point build. And then by leveling up and completing quests you will get more points. So just keep on improving your skills and getting higher tier runes as well. So then let's move over to the engravings, and you want to get the Awakening. This is the most important engraving for a Bard class. It reduces the cooldown of your Awakening skill Symphonia, which will let you cast it more often per fight. Symphonia not only grants a massive shield to all of your allies, but also it gives you 1 bar for the meter, which makes this ability very useful. And then lastly, this engraving should definitely be the first one who you get to level 3. So then for the second one we have the Desperate Salvation, and this engraving is the reason why bards can heal for as much as they do, because it will give each one of your heals a 24% max HP recovery effect. And like the first engraving, you want to get this one to level 3 as soon as possible after the Awakening. Then the next one is called the Expert, and this is a incredible engraving that boosts the effectiveness of shields and healing by 25%. And if any ally is under half HP, this bonus is doubled. So in conclusion, you will be able to do huge amount of healing. Then for the fourth engraving, you want to get the heavy armor equipment, and this will offer you a lot of defenses for your bard as the support class is pretty squishy. So this is a very powerful engraving that bards usually take for their endgame build. Then the next one is called the max MP increase, and this is useful for our swiftness oriented bard, as we possibly may run into mana issues. And remember that those who forget about this engraving may find themselves running low on mana and needing to consume mana regen food. And then for the last engraving, we have the spirit absorption, and this will increase your already high attack and movement speed even more. But you should get this engraving last, because in the late game, you may potentially hit a max swiftness limit. So then in a quick summary, I would recommend to get the top 3 engravings first and then the bottom 3. And then last but not the least, let's move over to your cards. And as the bard healing depends on how high your HP is, so you want to have the cards that increase your maximum HP for the best healing possible. So for the cards, you want to get the Manet, Tarsila, Soul Grenade, Braelas, Aporus and Kagros. In general, these cards are an endgame system for maximizing your character, so you don't have to get them right away, but these specific cards will optimize your maximum healing output in PvE even more. I did bunch of testing for this build and this was the best and most optimized card set. Okay, so then moving over to the gameplay, and if you have played this class while leveling, you will be very familiar with the skills, so I will just try to give you a short description. So then for the first 2 abilities, we have the Sound Shock and Stigma, and these are your main debuff skills that will buff your teammates' damage by 10%, and then at the same time you will get a quick extra 30% damage bonus. Then the next ability, called the Wind of Music, is our main shielding skill for your party. It also generates a fair amount of meter when hitting the boss, so stay close to the allies to get the maximum potential out of the skill. Then for the next ability, we have the Guardian's Tune, which is a consistent buff that grants damage reduction to all party members. And because of our tripod selection, it also provides a shield once this buff expires. This is a great ability to cast frequently to reduce incoming damage to your party. Then the next 2 abilities, called the Heavenly Tune and Sonic Vibration, are your main 2 attack buffs that will give you and all of your party members extra attack power, attack speed and overall faster mana regeneration. Then the Prelude of Storm is a great stunning ability that will stun the enemy for 3 seconds and will help you generate your meter a lot faster. And then moving over to the last and final ability, which is called the Soundholic, and this is the one and only DPS skill, so whenever you want to do damage, this is the main skill to use. And then lastly, our Awakening skill is called the Symphonia, which grants a powerful shield equal to 100% of your maximum HP. So as this is a very important ability, I usually use it only to protect my teammates from getting one-shotted, or if I or anyone else ever gets in trouble. Okay, so then usually at this part of the video I would be explaining the best skill rotation, but as you are a support build, you don't have a specific rotation. Most of your ability placement will depend on your teammates and each fight separately. So use the Sound Shock and Stigma to debuff the enemy. Then afterwards rotate between the Wind of Music and Guardian's Tune to protect your teammates by giving them shields and damage reduction buffs. Then the Heavenly Tune and Sonic Vibration are your main 2 attack buffs that will grant you and all of your party members extra damage. Then if you ever need to stun the enemy, then use the Prelude of Storm ability. Then for yourself to deal damage, use the Soundholic ability. And then lastly, for your best shield skill and to protect your team, use the Awakening skill called Symphonia. So then in a quick summary, your main job is to give your teammates a damage buffs and then at the same time apply debuffs to the enemy as much as you can. Then whenever your teammates need help or get in trouble, then shield them with your damage reduction skills. And then lastly, to deal damage and stun your enemies, use the rest of your damage abilities, and that's about it. Usually for the support players, everything depends on your team, so there is no one best way to play this build. The more you will play, the better you will get. My only suggestion would be at the endgame to learn boss mechanics, so you would be able to place damage reduction buffs even before the enemy deals damage and much more. So now in my last and final conclusions for this build, this Bard class fills up your meter by using the abilities, and then whenever the meter is full you can spend it to provide either way a powerful attack buff called Serenade of Courage or a strong AoE healing called the Serenade of Salvation. Then as well, remember to keep your enemies debuffed by using your Sound Shock or Stigma abilities. Then whenever you cycle through your attack buffs, don't forget to not overlap them because they don't stack. And then lastly, as you are a support class, It is very important to keep your allies alive, so use the Guardian's tune and Wind of Music as much as possible, and that's about it. So I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback or other good Lost Ark PvE classes that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I'll catch you in my next video. So take it easy, peace.
Yo, I ain't here